been a rough few years for the people of Abaco, but as you can see, things are beginning to bounce back. Now, in this edition of the Bahamas Naturally, we're going to focus on mangroves, which took a real beating during Hurricane Dorian. But now they too are coming back. And we'll also take a look at bone fishing and tell you what you should do if you decide to take part in this wonderful pastime. It's all coming up in the Bahamas Naturally right after the break.
At Bonefish and Tarpon Trust, we're working to make sure that you'll find healthy populations of bonefish, tarpon, and permit at your favorite destinations. From the Florida Keys to Belize, from the Bahamas to Mexico. But we need your help to fight for clean water and healthy habitats. After all, if we don't conserve our flats fisheries, who will? Become a member today at btt.org and help us bring science to the fight.
Years on, you can still see signs of Hurricane Dorian's destruction in Marsh Harbor. The people have begun to rebuild, but there's a long way to go. The environment, too, has a lot of healing to do.
There was extensive damage of the mangroves, and we are working on the northern Bahamas mangrove restoration, so we're a partner in that project. And again, we take it back to education, and it really is, that project's really important in teaching our young people how important mangroves are as a first line of defense against storms, as well as a habitat that's so important for fisheries, which is also really, it's really important in the Bahamas and the livelihoods of our people. So it's an important lesson in sustainability and the economy. Our coral reefs were damaged, but maybe not as badly as we had first anticipated. There is restoration going on. Marine debris was a huge issue. It still is a huge issue. And we're lucky that organization Idea Relief came in, and they have been doing extensive marine debris removal. We were very instrumental in one of the first marine debris removal projects off of Mermaid Reef, which is a little reef that's very alive and close to shore. And again, we got kids involved in that and got them out there. It was in January 2020, so just a few months after Hurricane Dorian. And it was really important to get those kids out there so they can feel like they were part of recovery efforts of their island.
Things have gone a little bit wild. I've seen some of the sites that we used to go to regularly with our kids, our field trips, parts of our communities. We've been taking care of ourselves first, and invasive species are starting to creep in. I mean, even on our property behind you, there's some jumbe and Brazilian pepper, which are plants that we normally try to control. So there's things that have been put on the back burner, and we're definitely planning to take care of them. I think that as we move forward with what we now know we need to do, we need to plan better for how we respond to disasters. And nobody was expecting Dorian to be what it was, but now we have that experience, and we can guide ourselves through the future to respond better and put more resources towards the environment sooner.
Where would you say Abaco is right now in the scheme of things as far as environmental recovery is concerned?
I think that we're doing okay. There is definitely a lot of awareness, and which brings in people wanting to help which brings in organizations. Partnerships are so important. We work with local partners, we work with national partners and international partners, and having those connections and being able to facilitate research is what Friends of the Environment is really important for recovery. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Of course, shortly after Dorian came COVID-19, and that made matters worse.
After Dorian and COVID, we realized how much we rely on the environment for our survival. It was very evident then when all the layers were peeled back, we weren't getting freight boats with deliveries and our shops weren't open and everybody was, growing stuff in their yard and fishing and catching the chickens that we normally just let walk by, So when you have that experience and realize how tied we are, it gives a bigger appreciation for what we need to do.
Yeah, ultimately it's about survival, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Since Dorian, the environmentalists say there have been increased cases of stony coral tissue loss disease.
It's very concerning because we have a lot of traffic in Abaco, boat traffic. It's an important location for sailboats and diving and snorkeling and fishing, and unfortunately one of the ways that stony coral tissue loss disease is transported is through ballast water and diving gear. And so we don't have any records currently of stony coral tissue loss disease in other areas of Abaco, but it's very important right now that we get the word out to the people that are on the water to understand what it looks like and also what to do to prevent it. So most people are familiar with coral bleaching when corals become white, and at that point some corals may die, some may not. But in coral bleaching, the coral tissue is actually still on their skeleton. They've just lost their color. But with stony coral tissue loss disease, as the name states, they will lose that color, and that's one of the identifiers of it. But they also lose their tissue, so they die. And it's very hard for them to recover from that. So here in Abaco and Grand Bahama and other places, we're recovering from Dorian. Our environment is already kind of stressed. We might have other stressors that were already there, and adding something else to the pot makes it more challenging for these ecosystems.
Here's a reminder why coral reefs are so important.
In the Bahamas, coral reefs really are important to every aspect of our life. Even if you don't step foot in the water for your entire life, coral reefs are important to you. And that is because they are part of our defense against storms. They help produce sand for our beaches. They provide food. They provide jobs for our family members. They bring tourists to our shores. They're part of our national identity. And without them, we would be pretty lost.
The forests were seriously affected too.
The forestry department and other partners had begun working on ways to look at sustainably logging in Abaco, and those things were ongoing at the time of Dorian. There was a small company that was milling pine for high-end products like wood trim and flooring and things like that, and they were looking at doing more to help the economy and as a way to manage the pine. Unfortunately, we lost a large amount of our pines on Abaco due to just physical damage from the storm, salt inundation from the surges that we got, and it's going to take a long time for it to recover.
Mangroves are critical to helping the environment recover. At the Friends of the Environment headquarters, they have a nursery that will help support mangrove growth.
Well, Olivia, we've got some mangroves here that you're getting ready to transplant eventually, hopefully. Eh? Main types of mangrove in the Bahamas, Justin?
Yeah, so we have this is the red mangrove here, and then the other two species is the black mangrove, the white mangrove. But for this Northern Bahamas Mangrove Restoration Project, we're primarily focused on red mangroves and a little bit black mangroves.
Okay, good. And how long does it take to get to this stage? How advanced are these plants?
4 to 6 months at least.
Ah, okay, good. But I think you've got in your hand
Yeah, so I have here.
how it starts off.
Yeah, this is how it starts off as a propagule. So they grow on the this is a red mangrove propagule. We pick them directly off the trees. They are fully germinated seeds at plants at that point. So we have these troughs that we build, and we have these trays filled with just soil, and all we do is just pop them in and let them grow, and all we have to do is keep up the water. It's pretty easy to maintain them.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is it about, what are the characteristics of the mangrove that make them so popular with marine life? We know that sharks, barracudas, whatever, they go into them for nurseries. They're nurseries for these special species. What is the main characteristic of it that gets them like that?
They have a complicated root system that provides a lot of hiding places for small fish especially. And that is why we call them a nursery. They also provide, in their upper branches, they provide places for birds to roost as well. And so that creates a whole ecosystem right there. You know, birds poop in the water, it provides nutrients to the plants protect the fish, and then it's just a whole cycle.
Wow. Let's walk through a little bit and see what else we have here. Good. Now these are red and black, you said?
So these are only red.
These are red,
Yeah.
okay. And it's because the roots are red, right? That's
They're
how you identify them?
reddish brown.
Yeah.
Reddish brown, right,
Yeah.
okay. This one?
These are all red,
All red.
actually.
Oh,
And
okay.
you can tell, the way we remember is they have very pointy leaves, large glossy green leaves. Each mangrove has a different shaped leaf.
Oh, that's
and-
interesting. I
and root
didn't know
structure.
that.
Yeah.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, and then also once they get to adult size, they start to produce prop roots. Those are the ones that you see along the shoreline primarily. So that's how you can tell the difference between them as well.
Yeah, good. And some smaller ones here.
Yeah, so these are younger. These are probably 2 months old.
So tell us something special about this younger set.
One of the things we're trying to do is collect mangroves so that we have them in different stages of growth, so that we constantly have a set ready to go when it's time to plant. So if you look back at where we just started, we have older mangroves that are definitely ready to go in the ground, and then when those go in the ground, we can move these up to the next stage and hopefully gather some more propagules to plant in the seed trays.
And once
grow
they're
them up.
transplanted, what happens? How long does it take before the magic happens?
So it's between 3 to 5 years before they'll start actually producing propagules, and that's what we want them to get to, because the purpose of this project is to help kickstart recovery, because Mother Nature's a lot better at us than we are, so we're just trying to help her along. So we're planting in areas where there were previously adult mangroves, because those areas have enough nutrients to allow them to grow to adult size. Once we outplant these, we're focusing on areas where there were previously adult mangroves. Those are the areas that have enough nutrients to allow them to get to adult size, because we want them to be able to produce propagules, and then to reseed the surrounding areas. And then also a lot of these areas that we're planting are along mangrove creeks, so it'll help stabilize those creek systems, but also more importantly, once they produce propagules, it's a great way, once the tide moves in and out, it's a great way for dispersal of the seeds.
Wow, good.
And it's essential that we get plants in the ground because time is basically running out. If we don't get roots growing back in the soil, it will erode, and then the area won't be suitable for planting mangroves
Oh,
anymore.
wow, so you can lose a whole ecosystem, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reds of more value than, say, the blacks or the whites?
Well, reds probably make up over 90% of the mangroves, at least in the northern Bahamas.
Okay.
And then scattered blacks, you have areas where they're predominantly black and white, but the largest species is the reds, and they produce the most complex habitat, like Olivia was talking about earlier. So they're very important for the nursery system. They support important fisheries like the bonefish fishery, which in the Bahamas is worth $169 million every year. And I think just between Abaco and Grand Bahama, it's like anywhere between 40 to 60 million, just between these two islands. And it's a catch and release fishery that's very sustainable. And mangroves are essential to the survival of that fishery. So that's why we need to get as many plants in the ground as possible before another storm comes in and more erosion occurs.
The nursery project is also used as an educational tool.
Yeah, so the other thing with this project too is not just about the restoration, but it's educating Bahamians about the importance of not only habitat restoration, but how important habitats like mangroves are to the Bahamas and their value. And so with this project, we are taking schools out, taking teachers out, we're taking community members out. We're working very closely with the local bonefish guides, and just getting as many people involved and get them to be more aware and more conservation minded moving forward.
Good.
On the infrastructural end, Dorian destroyed the building that housed Friends of the Environment's Learning Center and Natural History Museum. But they've broken ground on a new $2 million facility they will call the Exploratorium.
So we are standing on the porch of our new learning center. And
Which you lost in Dorian.
we lost it in Dorian, we lost the building in Dorian, and now we're rebuilding bigger and better, and we're calling it the Learning Center.
Okay.
Down at this end of the building is going to be our bigger classroom, and then we'll walk in. This won't actually be, this will be a doorway, and the entrance will be down this way. So right now we're standing in what will be the Exploratorium. And the Exploratorium will house the Natural History Museum, and so we'll bring that back, and we will also have hands-on learning exhibits for maybe mangroves, coral reefs, marine mammals, turtles.
So a lot of audio-visual stuff as well?
We're
so
hoping,
that interactive stuff
yes,
as well?
we want to do interactive
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
It's not completely designed yet, but it's really fun to think about. So very, very exciting project.
So what's your sort of timeline for it?
So we're hoping we're going to be finished in a year. That's what our contractor tells us. They are working extremely fast, and our bigger vision is to hold summer camp here next year.
Wow.
Because we
Summer of 2023.
Summer of 2023 summer camp's going to be right here. So in our classroom and using the whole area.
And you light right up when you think about it. I can see it.
We are so excited about this. This has been a long time coming, and yeah, it's going to be an amazing project. It's going to be 2 stories. We'd walk back here, and then on this side will be our offices. They will have a small kitchen, and then we're going to also have an upstairs area that'll have a conference room. We'll have another like a media room for kids. That'll be a smaller area that hopefully they can go in, and they can be computers, they can do research. We're also down at this end upstairs. We're going to have 4 extra offices that will be available for other nonprofit organizations, so that we can kind of all be together. We all work so much together,
yeah.
and
So it makes sense.
It makes sense, and have that space available for other organizations that we work with.
About how many people do you expect to be able to cater to at any one time in the classroom?
30, maybe.
It's a good number.
We have groups that are maybe 10. We have groups that are larger. The area in front of the building will all be deck area, so we'll have a lot of outdoor space. We like to be outdoors, so it's great, and this will open up with sliding glass doors, so it can all be one, with the lobby and the Exploratorium as well. So it's going to be an amazing space for the community of Abaco, for the Bahamas. We hopefully it'll be a destination that people will be excited. Hope you'll come back and visit us.
We'll have to.
Got him. We're gonna let this guy go. Yeah. This is what people pay lots of money to come to the Bahamas for, right here. Thank you, fish.
At Bonefish and Tarpon Trust, we're working to make sure that you'll find healthy populations of bonefish, tarpon, and permit at your favorite destinations. From the Florida Keys to Belize, from the Bahamas to Mexico. But we need your help to fight for clean water and healthy habitats. After all, if we don't conserve our flats fisheries, who will? Become a member today at btt.org and help us bring science to the fight.
Bonefishing is a $169 million industry in the Bahamas that employs about 8,000 Bahamians. My cameraman, Philip Marsh, and I went to the Marls on the west side of Abaco with Justin Lewis, Bonefish and Tarpon Trust's Bahamas Initiative Manager, along with 2 guides. We got a close look at the state of the mangroves and the work that has been done after Hurricane Dorian.
We did several surveys, and it showed that here in Abaco, 40% of the mangroves were damaged, destroyed, which is about 21,000 acres. And then we're also doing it in Grand Bahama as well, where they lost 73% of their mangroves, so it's about 22,000 acres.
Wow. And of course, people who don't remember, the mangroves are critical because they're the safe haven for fish.
Yeah,
and the food source.
Yeah, absolutely. They're one of the main nurseries in the Bahamas for ecologically and a lot of commercially important species. And then also they're like the first line of defense against storms. Mm-hmm. This is a male fiddler crab. This is one of the bonefish's main food sources. Thankfully, after Hurricane Dorian, population of these guys have bounced back, as well as with little small snails that they feed on. So yeah, it's great that even though the mangroves are dead, the habitat is still intact, and that's what we're trying to help keep by getting this mangrove restoration project started and to help kickstart the recovery of the mangroves.
So about how many mangroves have you planted here so far?
So for Grand Bahama and Abaco, we've done over 20,000. Mm-hmm. Just in Abaco, we've done over 5,000.
Good. And what's the process like, the transplant process?
So it's a messy one. So we'll take the plants out of the nursery. We'll come out here with a bunch of students, teachers, community members. Also government officials will come out and help us, like Department of Marine Resources, Forestry will come out. And it's like a big mangrove planting party. So we have these big orange dibbles. They're basically big spades. Open a hole in the ground. We'll usually work in pairs. One person opens the hole, puts the mangrove in the ground, cover it up onto the next spot. And so usually we'll do, in 2 to 3 hours, we'll plant 2,400 mangroves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And how long before they become to the point where, because you said you want them to have their own propagules, right?
Yes.
And how long does it take approximately for that to happen?
So it's approximately 3 to 5 years before they start producing propagules.
Okay, so it's not automatic then.
No, it's not. This is a long-term project. Mangroves are very slow growing, so we're in it for the long haul with this project.
Now, this area here, these are all the dead ones from Hurricane Dorian.
Yeah, this is a very small portion of the death and destruction that happened after Hurricane Dorian. Mm-hmm. And that it was primarily because of the sustained winds over 3 days. Like the mangroves couldn't take that much stress, so being totally defoliated, they were too stressed and weren't able to come back.
Mm-hmm. And you said that this is a protected area, eh?
Yes, so the Marls is a protected area as of 2015.
As an official marine protected area?
Yes, an official marine protected area.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so these are the individual ones that we planted. Not much difference between growth rate, survival rate between the individuals and the clump ones. Which is good, but in the wild, they usually do clump up in certain corners because it's very wind-driven and tide-driven. Mm-hmm. So that's why when we're planting, we're mimicking more clumped planting rather than spread-out planting. But as you can see, these mangroves are growing really healthy. They're not growing super tall very fast because they're slow growing, but they're growing out more, which is excellent.
Right, and then they develop these big roots.
Yeah, these are the big prop root systems that provide all the cover habitat for a lot of fish. But then also on these prop roots, you can't see it on these because these ones are dead, but the ones out there, you can see that there's moss and whatnot growing on it, so different epiphytes will grow on it that provide a significant amount of food for the other species that utilize this habitat.
How difficult was it getting in here right after the storm?
It was difficult. We didn't get in until 2-3 months after the storm to actually get out in the field and to survey because of everything else that was going on that everybody was dealing with. So right after the surveys, we approached Friends of the Environment, Mang, they're a restoration group out of Florida, and Bahamas National Trust to be our main partners in this project.
Okay. And what a cool name, because you can see what it stands for, Mang.
Yeah.
So let's just check off the Rove, you know?
Yeah, so those partners have been excellent, and then working closely with the Bonefish guides, because this is their livelihood. It's all, like, our big focus is the habitat. If you don't have the habitat, you don't have the fish. So that's what we're primarily focused on.
Mm-hmm. And they understand that well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, did I tell you that we were here to hunt for bonefish? I was particularly excited because not only was it my first time bone fishing, it was my first time fishing, period.
You don't want it to splash too much. You don't want it to be right on top of them, because then they'll spook. You want them to swim up onto it and find it.
Okay.
'Cause remember, we're hunting them. We don't want to spook them.
True, true.
Let's do it one more time and let's go look for some fish.
Good video diary.
Go ahead.
All right, good. Open
Bail. Yep.
it. All right, we're gonna go back.
Yep. Perfect. Perfect.
All right.
And then remember where your right hand needs to be?
Yep.
Yep. And then you just close the bail. Rod tip up. And then reel in some slack. Yep, just keep reeling.
Okay.
Yep. And that's the position you want to be in.
All right.
Yeah, and we'll tell you what to do after that. We'll tell you to reel in more or not, or to open your bail or whatnot. So
Okay.
you can just reel it in now.
All right, good.
We're just gonna pull this, right?
Actually, I think that felt a little different too. You know?
Yeah. Felt smooth.
Yeah, it felt
Yeah.
a little, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's way out there. You didn't see it yet. Okay, here we go.
So you want to be in the ready position.
All right, yeah.
Line up. So yep, just grab your line.
All right, keep your finger on it.
Keep your finger on it, bail open, just in case we have to make a quick shot.
All right.
And then you're good. Just sit, just
relax
like that.
until
Yeah,
then,
just
yeah.
relax, and then we'll tell you what to do.
Ah! Boy.
So just hold the end. Yeah, that's it. There you go. That's a nice fish.
Where the hell is
So
it?
keep turning your body to the left.
Ah!
That's all right. Nice and easy.
Okay, he's coming up now, huh?
He's over here now. So you watch your rod tip. There you go. He's going to your right now.
But you ain't gonna beat me.
That's a good fish.
Oh,
There we go. Got him. Got him.
you do?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
You can come in close, Phil.
Yay.
So we can show off this nice fish. There you go.
Whoa.
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
First fish.
Hey. Whoa.
There you go.
All right. Ah.
Are they pretty?
Yeah, they are actually.
And for their size, how strong they are.
Boy, they're really strong.
You just had a great fight from that fish, but we want to make sure that we're able to catch it again, and more importantly, so this fish can go out and reproduce, so that we can have more bonefish in the future.
When
Ready?
did they start reproducing?
Pardon me?
When did they start reproducing?
3 to 5 years old. Ready, Phil?
Woo.
And there he goes.
Okay.
There he goes.
And he's gone.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
I got good people training me.
My turn now.
Wow.
Got him. Yes. Good job. Nice healthy bonefish, Marl's bonefish. Let's get him in. Oop. Yeah. That's a good sized one. See, look at that blue, didn't look like a cobalt in their tail. That- Cool. Anything else you want? All right, cool. Let him go. Bye, fish.
At Bonefish and Tarpon Trust, we're working to make sure that you'll find healthy populations of bonefish, tarpon, and permit at your favorite destinations. From the Florida Keys to Belize, from the Bahamas to Mexico. But we need your help to fight for clean water and healthy habitats. After all, if we don't conserve our flats fisheries, who will? Become a member today at btt.org and help us bring science to the fight.
Justin Sands and Danny Sawyer were our bonefish guides for the day. Justin says he once caught a 12-pound bonefish. It took him 20 minutes to reel it in. He's been fishing the flats for 25 years, meeting people from all around the world.
It's always nice to meet new people, and it's been a tremendous career. Hopefully I can do it for a long time to come, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you see yourself doing it this long?
No, I didn't. When I started in 1997, I figured it was just a short time thing, but it's turned out to be a great career, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many people do you take a day when you're in full swing?
It's usually 2 anglers per day, and I fish Monday through Friday, but when I have bookings.
So you treat it like kind of like a 9 to 5.
Yes, it basically is a 9 to 5, and my wife insisted on Saturdays and Sundays off.
Say no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But protecting and conserving bonefish is really important, and obviously you understand the reason for that importance more than most.
Yes.
All right. Talk about that a little bit, please.
Well, I mean, you have to handle the fish properly. If you take them out of the water too long, they suffer. If you take their protective slime off of them, they suffer. So we try not to take them out of the water much, catch them and release as quick as possible. You don't want them to fight very, very long, because then they're susceptible to sharks and barracudas at that point.
Oh, so they are very vulnerable fish then?
Very vulnerable. So they need to be handled with care and released as soon as possible.
Now, you're involved with the Mangrove Restoration Project too.
Yes, sir.
Right? And obviously you know why mangroves are so important.
Yes, it's an ecosystem for many things along with the bonefish, the crawfish, mangrove snappers. Pretty much all of our fish come from out of the mangroves.
Mm-hmm. Now, say I'm, traveling here specifically for this. How much is a tour?
It's each guide is different. Here with me, it's $450 for half a day of fishing and $550 for a full day. Some people charge more, some people charge less. I'm comfortable with that.
I hear that. And of course, I assume you have a lot of repeat visitors.
Yes, I've been very fortunate. I've been an independent guide since I started, and I've been fishing some of the same clients for over 20 years.
Wow. When they first come out here to Abaco and they see the serenity of this place and then the excitement along with the fishing, do you see them physically change in front of you?
They do. Most people come, from the business world, they come a lot tense and everything. They get out here and they catch a fish and they just start mellowing out. By the end of the day, they're just so relaxed. Some of them just want to sit for a while and just drift around.
What kind of further measures do you think we need to do for the industry? What do you see is needed, or you think sufficient is being done?
No, more areas need to be protected. Fortunately, here in the malls of Abaco, it's been protected for a while. Our association, the Abaco Fly Fishing Guides Association, along with others, have petitioned the government to get this a protected area, and it has been protected, I think, since 2005, I think. I don't remember the exact date. 2015? Yeah, dates don't ring a bell anymore. Yeah, but it needs to be protected for the future generations, not so much for me, but for the next generation and the one after.
Yeah, because the Bahamas is such an important bonefish haven, if you will.
Correct.
Not many places you can do what you do here like that.
No. I've had people that said they fished all over the world and nothing compares to what we have here in the Bahamas.
Wow.
Business-wise on the land, it's coming back slowly. The mangroves out here really got hurt, really got damaged, but we've been working along with Bonefishing, Tarpon and Trust and other groups and replanting mangroves, which is a positive thing. Also, I see some natural regrowth. Not a lot, but some natural regrowth, and that gives me hope.
Absolutely.
There's always been a concern about motherships, non-Bahamians guiding in the Bahamas. We don't have a lot of it here in the malls because it's kind of a area that is very shallow.
Yeah.
It's very odd to access. But other places in the Bahamas, there has been some areas that need some more attention.
Danny Sawyer's been in the bone fishing business for 21 years. But after Dorian, which left 8 feet of water in his house, he had second thoughts about starting over again in Abaco.
After Dorian, people expected for it to really pick up, things to get done really quick, and it was very disappointing. We couldn't get a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff was going into the outer keys, like Hopetown, Mangrove, Warner, and it got pretty depressing.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, me and my wife decided, why should we come back to Abaco, If it's going to take 3, 5, 10 years to rebuild everything, you might as well move somewhere else.
Wow. So that must have been a very difficult decision to even think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here you are back.
Yes, sir.
Good. And how long did it take? You told me about the reconstruction of your home.
Yeah.
But for the environment to bounce back, which is where you make your living,
Yes, sir.
how long was it before you could really get back in here and do anything?
Well, like a year after the hurricane, we had a lot of clientele calling, but our boats weren't up, we had more important things to do, try to get your life back together, but we did have clientele calling. I've probably been doing it about a year now, since Hurricane Dorian. For the last year or so, I've noticed out here there are more fish. I've noticed more fish in the malls now since Hurricane Dorian. I don't know what will contribute to that, what caused that, but the fishing is better. But right now, out here in the malls, I really like to thank Justin Lewis and the Bonefishing, Tarpon Trust for coming here and trying to, give us a hand to get things back. But we really, really need to get, I would say 100,000 mangroves planted out here because it's going to take a long time to bring this place back.
And a long time for those mangroves to grow once
Yeah.
you finish
Yes,
planting them.
Like they say, some of those mangroves were out there were probably 30, 40, 50 years old.
Mm.
So if it takes another 40 years, I don't think I'll be here to see it.
Now you appreciate obviously why they're so important, but what about for the fishers who don't really understand why the mangroves are so key?
A lot of people don't know about out here, but I think personally we should educate them about out here. I think we should go into the schools. I think we should do seminars and try and educate the young people about out here, This is our livelihood, We have a lot of tourists that come here to do this, and I think the government should help us out to try and restore the malls. I think the whole mall should be protected.
Mm-hmm. And the catch and releasing it's amazing how wildly popular this sport is, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And people willing to spend a lot of money
Yeah.
for the whole experience.
Yeah, you have doctors, lawyers, football players.
Both men are committed to helping restore the mangroves and, in turn, preserving the environment. They are, however, both concerned about the future of the money-making industry in Abaco because young Bahamians there seem not to have an interest in it.
Right now, we don't have any young guides here.
Really, young Abaconians aren't interested in doing.
They're not into it.
Wow.
I don't know why, but we could use probably another 30, 40 guides here right in Marsh Harbor.
Wow.
Yeah.
People come from all over the world to enjoy the catch and release feeling of fly fishing in the Bahamas. But it's not only bonefish that attracts fishing enthusiasts. Down in Sandy Point, Abaco, we met Mark Price and Kent Davis from Denver, Colorado. Okay, Tony, at the top of page 5. They've been to the Bahamas to participate in sport fishing for more than 8 times. They were pursuing permit fish that day, but they are avid bonefish hunters too.
What makes it so exciting for you to actually do this catch and release thing?
Well, the fun part is the fishing, and that's what every fisherman's going to say. But the best part about coming to the Bahamas is the people, your incredible water you guys have here, and just to have a little bit of that culture and that experience and that immersion is what makes me keep coming back year and year.
Wow. Now, it requires a lot of patience to go after bonefish and other sort of catch and release fish.
Yes.
Do you ever get frustrated? Or does it just, that hunt, calm you down more?
The hunt definitely calms you down when you maybe mess up a little bit, but that's fishing. But the patience is definitely a key to the game. But it's also what makes you keep coming back. Because if you caught every one, you might have done it all.
Have you ever caught a tagged one that you had to,
I have never caught a tagged one. I have done the opposite, where we have caught one and done the tagging program.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Now, what was that like? That must have been exciting.
It was very cool. I had never been a part of more of a science kind of based journey doing that. So when we were able to do that, I think we tagged 10 or 11 bonefish that day. So the fishing was good, and being able to tag them, and hopefully that research will show years down the road.
So you stay in the water while you do it, or you get in the water with them?
Oh,
because
yeah.
they have to stay in the water,
Yes,
don't they?
yeah. And it's a pretty quick process. You know, you catch them, you keep them in the water, you insert just the little tagging device, let them go.
Wow.
Maybe catch a measurement, see how big and tall they are.
Great. Now, are you a scientist by nature, by profession?
I am not.
You're not?
No.
But it has made you appreciate the science even more just by doing what you...
Well, organizations like the BTT have really brought light to how important these different practices are. And so by nature, I would like to learn more. And what these organizations are doing really means a lot to not only the fishery, but the Bahamas in general.
Davis says he wants to keep coming to the Bahamas to participate in his favorite pastime. Mark Price says they have challenges in preserving fish stocks in Colorado, too, and appreciates conservation efforts here.
They've established gold medal waters to help the trout in Colorado flourish and populate.
Okay.
And they have specific regulations on how you can fish for them and about how many you can keep or not.
Oh, that's great. Now, you know that, of course, Hurricane Dorian really wreaked havoc on the northern part of Abaco, central and northern part. And a lot of the mangroves in the malls there, just devastated. And we know mangroves are so important for the livelihoods of, the lifetimes of fish, if you will, the lifespan of a fish, particularly those beginning years.
For sure. And you can see when you go into the mangroves, you can see all the life that goes on around the roots and the systems and the protection that they provide. And Hurricane Dorian was very tragic. It was very devastating here in the Bahamas, especially with the northern islands, with Abaco and Grand Bahama, got hit very, very hard. And so those mangroves were torn up, and it's really great to see the work that Justin Lewis is doing and how they're repopulating important areas with mangroves, and especially in the marls, which is a nursery, so to speak, for little, small bonefish.
Do you think the rules that we have here for foreigners who come to enjoy our waters and the real art of bone fishing, do you think they're clear and well understood?
Very much so, very much so. I think everyone realizes how valuable the bonefish are to the economy, and I think almost everyone's willing to protect them to whatever point they can.
So how can we make your experiences here a little bit better?
Well, so far so good. Really it is. It's been really great. I will tell you that I've been coming for quite some time now, and the people have been very kind to me, and I appreciate that. So truly, one of the beauties of these islands are the people.
Their local guide, Perry Adderley, has been in the business for about 18 years. He describes that special feeling you get when bone fishing.
Because it excites me, man, just meeting people and going out there and experience the catch and the hookup and the release and all that stuff makes it a lot of fun.
And actually, which is more lucrative?
The bone fishing, the release. Yes. When you're out there chasing these bonefish, it's almost more like you're hunting them. So you got to sneak up on them, and you got to listen to everything that your guide tells you when you present that fly, when to strip and when to strike and all that stuff, and let the line go. So all that makes it really fun, you know, watching those guys, see them hook the fish, line the fish, and release it. Got to keep it away from the sharks and the barracudas.
Now, I caught my first bonefish yesterday, right?
Yes.
And obviously there's a lot of discipline and patience involved in that.
Yes.
What do you think average people who don't fish so much, what that discipline does for your entire life? Has it changed your life the way, I mean, I know it has, obviously, in some ways.
Yes, it does. Yes,
but how else has it changed your life? Is making you a more focused man, a more disciplined man?
Yeah, and make me more focused and disciplined, and then know how to talk to people, you know what I mean? Because you can't be rash with your clients. If they make a mistake, it happens. So you just go on and focus on getting the next catch. You got to be nice to them, you know what I mean?
Great.
Yeah.
Now we're also focusing on the state of mangroves in this show, right?
Yes.
And we know further up north, the mangroves really took a
they
beating.
were destroyed, they were destroyed.
Most people understand, you think now, well, definitely in your business, why the mangroves are so important.
The mangrove is really important to the bone fishing, the sharks, the barracudas, all the stuff that lives in there. They're more protective in there, and they got a lot of feed in those areas, so it means a lot in the fishing industry.
Do you think there's anything else that government needs to do to support the industry?
Yeah, we could use a little support from them, you know. At least we need to try to keep our environment more clean and all that stuff, like stuff out of the mangroves, like the plastic, the cans, the bottles and all that. Because even if I were walking and I see something drifting or in the water, we try to pick that up, try to keep the environment clean, because that's what makes the environment good. Picking up stuff, keeping it clean.
So more policing from the government?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Things will take time to recover in Abaco after Dorian. As far as the environment,
we have to do a lot more, not just a lot more planting, but a lot more outreach and education with the community, so they understand and appreciate the importance of the mangroves to the Bahamas, and also the importance of the flats fishing industry for bonefish to the Bahamas.
And obviously bone fishermen like we met yesterday and others are crucial to this.
Yeah, absolutely. They are the ones that are out on the water every day. They see what's going on, and they're most heavily impacted by it. And then also they are going to be the biggest advocates moving forward for conservation of these important key habitats.
And still the question that I've got to ask, why the bonefish? Why is the bonefish just such a fascinating catch and release animal?
Well, there's a reason why they're called the ghosts of the flats, is because they're so difficult to catch, because there's a whole process of we're out there, we're basically hunting these fish. We're tracking them down, and it's all about presenting your bait properly to these fish, or else you're gonna spook them. And as you saw, like, they fight extremely hard for their size. And then at the end of the day, you go through all that and you get to see this beautiful fish and get to let them go in order for them to catch them another day, so that they can reproduce and so we can have more moving forward. We've done a lot of science about best hunting practices. We wanna make sure that this fishery is sustainable. Especially when it being catch and release. And just because you release that fish and it swims off doesn't mean it survives. So we have certain steps that starts from before you get in the boat. Starts from debarbing your hook, to the size of the line that you're using, to how especially to how you're handling those fish when they get to the boat. So you shouldn't be taking those fish out of the water. You shouldn't, at least for more than 10 seconds, shouldn't be grabbing them by the gills. Like, if there's a lot of predators around, you shouldn't even be fishing for them in the first place.
And with mangroves, how can the average person help? I don't know, I see that you're growing them in the backyards of certain places. Can anyone do that?
Yeah, anybody can do it. So right now we're focusing on just having our main nurseries, but like moving forward, we want people to start growing nurseries in their backyard so they can go out and plant, but only after they've gone through the proper training of how to plant properly and picking the right areas of where to plant, because that's very important. You can't just plant mangroves anywhere. It's great to see that the northern Bahamas, Abaco and Grand Bahama, are starting to come back slowly after the devastation of Hurricane Dorian. But a lot more work needs to be done, not just for Bahamians moving forward, but for our marine habitats that need to be conserved, because that's next to the Bahamian people, that's our greatest resource.
Member of Parliament for Central and South Abaco, John Pinder, understands the importance for the overall recovery and preparation for storms. He is keen to see progress.
I went through the storm with my 6-month-old and 6-year-old and had the house tear apart around me, just as many others had serious challenges in survival during that storm. It's to the forefront of my mind to make sure that we have the resources and we're ready for any storm that comes up. And in saying that, you know, it's important to know our safe spaces. You know, it's important to know that where we can go to have refuge.
Pinder says he wants to push for more ecotouristic opportunities in Abaco.
You know, we have all these fantastic things, from the Abaco parrots down south to caves and blue holes and different types of fishing and conching and whatnot. But we have to make sure we educate our tourism market coming in, that they know what the regulations are, what is a protected species, you know, how important mangroves are. I mean, you go into mangroves, you snorkel around them, and you can see the babies of the big sea fishing. You know, that is really the nursery of our waters. And then you shoot over to Fowl Key or Pelican Key National Parks, and you can see reefs full bloomed with a multitude of varieties of species, including spotted eagle rays and turtles and reef sharks and all the groupers and everything else that go with it. You know, so it's important for me to be able to that we should expand upon not only teaching but showing what Abaco has to offer in terms of ecotourism.
Pinder believes the future for Abaco and its people will be bright.
Abaconians are a resilient people. It was very encouraging for me to see the amount of effort that my fellow Abaconians have been putting in to bring back Abaco. You know, the Keys were one of the first to come back. We had some foreign help with the financial resources, so we brought that back and really started spurring the economy. From then, I've just been, you know, I think we're very blessed on the amount of demand that we have for visitors coming to the Abacos. Mm-hmm. So we are above board when it speaks to tourism. Our ecotourism is fantastic. You know, we have our blue holes and our bone fishing and the deep sea fishing, and we're just getting some tournaments started again. The beaches are beautiful. You know, this is the type of place where you can come down and forget about the real world, so to say.
Danny Sawyer learned some tangible lessons from Dorian too.
The lesson I learned is always be prepared. In my personal opinion, if we ever have another one like that, I will not stay here for it. I don't think anybody was prepared for the destruction what we had here in Marsh Harbor, well, in central Abaco. And only by the grace of God, it was a lot more people not killed, because I think if it had come in the night, a lot of people in Marsh Harbor wouldn't
have made it.
No.
Wow.
Because I actually swam out of my house.
You had to swim out of your house?
Yeah, I had 8 feet of water in my house.
Wow. Wow.
Practically every year, we see the impact of climate change on the Bahamas. If you had doubts before, Hurricane Dorian should have removed most of those. The signs are clear that we all need to be actively engaged if we hope to save our beautiful Bahamas and the planet for years to come.
Environment's not a fad anymore. We've realized it's part of our life, you know. the same way our health is and our normal education. It's part of us, and if we want to move forward on this earth as good citizens, it's something that we need to constantly consider and take care of.
I like how you put that. It's not a fad anymore. It's